The blazing sun hammered down on the cracked, parched earth, turning the desert into a shimmering furnace. Amidst this barren wasteland, a lone cowboy pushed forward, his silhouette a small speck against the vast, unforgiving landscape. Jake Sullivan's horse's hooves struck the dirt with a dull thud, kicking up plumes of dust that danced in the dry air. Oblivious to the life-altering encounter waiting just beyond the horizon, Jake had heard whispers of Apache tribes lurking in these parts. Stories of fierce warriors and hidden villages. Never in his wildest dreams did he imagine crossing paths with one, until now. It was when his tired horse faltered, its steps sluggish from hours under the relentless sun, that Jake's gaze caught something unusual in the distance. A tiny figure, barely distinguishable against the endless land, moving steadily toward him. As the figure drew closer, Jake realized it was a woman. But not just any woman. She was clad in traditional Apache dress, a long, flowing hide garment that whispered with the breeze. Her dark hair was braided tightly, falling in a thick cascade down her back, and her eyes held a fire that seemed to cut straight through the heat haze. As she approached, Jake's senses sharpened. Her expression was calm yet fierce, her face a mask of quiet determination. But what truly caught his breath was the child she carried, no more than 4 or 5, wrapped snugly in a woven blanket, clutching her mother as if the very land might swallow her whole. The woman stopped just a few paces away, her gaze locked onto Jake with unwavering steadiness. She radiated a deep knowledge of the land, a survival instinct that had been honed through generations. "I've been watching you," she said, her voice a steady, calm ripple in the stillness. "You've traveled far, looking for water, for shade. You appear lost, though perhaps not in the way you think." Jake wiped the sweat from his brow, grateful for the chance to speak to someone amid the endless, silent wilderness. "Not lost," he replied, voice rough from the heat. "Just searching for water and a bit of shade for my horse." Her eyes softened, studying him with a quiet wisdom. Without a word, she stepped forward, leading him toward a small creek that shimmered like a silver ribbon in the dirt. As he followed, Jake couldn't help but notice the grace in her movements. No hurried steps, no wasted motion. There was a silent understanding between them, a bond forged in the quiet language of the land itself. When he took a long drink from the cool, clear water, relief washed over him. It was more than just thirst that was quenched. It was a moment of rare connection amid the endless wilderness. She didn't speak much, but when the meal was prepared, she sat beside him, her daughter curled peacefully in her arms, both resting in the shade of a lone mesquite. They shared bread and water, a simple act that felt like a fragile bridge between worlds. Jake looked at her, gratitude swelling in his chest. "Thank you," he said, voice thick with genuine emotion. The woman's eyes flickered with something ancient and deep, like the land itself. "You fed my child," she whispered softly. "In my ways, that makes you one of us now." Then just like that, a chance encounter turned the desert into a battlefield of meaning. Jake pushed his horse deeper into the blistering sands, but his mind was caught in a storm of confusion. He'd never heard of such a strange tradition, not from the fierce Apache tribes known for their unyielding independence and sacred ties to the land. Yet here he was, faced with a woman claiming he belonged to her simply because he'd shared food and water with her daughter. What did belonging truly mean in their world? Was it a debt to be paid, a bond to be sealed? Or was there something darker, more tangled beneath the surface, something that would unravel only with time? Suddenly, the desert air shifted. out of the shimmering heat, she appeared again. This time not alone. Her tall figure stood proud, her daughter at her side, and beside them, a man stepped forward. He was tall, with piercing dark eyes and muscles carved from stone. Dressed in the traditional garb of the Apache, his face was a mask of hardened resolve. Jake knew instantly this wasn't just some warrior. It was a man of authority, someone who wielded power with every measured step. "You've come far, cowboy." The man's voice rumbled low, yet it carried the weight of command. "We've been watching you. Your actions, your choices, they're not to be taken lightly among our people." Jake's gaze flicked to the woman, then back to the man. "I don't understand," he said, voice uncertain. "All I did was share some food and water with your family." The man's eyes narrowed like a predator, sizing up prey. "Food and water are sacred to us," he said. "What you did was more than just kindness. It's a sign, an unspoken promise. You've become part of our world now. You're bound to her." Jake's mind spun. He didn't grasp what the man was trying to tell him. "I didn't mean any harm," he insisted. "I didn't come here to get tangled up in your customs." The woman stepped forward, her face calm but unwavering, her voice steady. "You've already crossed into our way of life. There's no turning back now." A cold knot tightened in Jake's gut. This wasn't simply about sharing food. It was about something far deeper, something that pulsed beneath the surface of tradition. As the man's piercing gaze bore into him, Jake sensed that her words carried more weight than mere cultural formality. They were a challenge, an unspoken vow. He felt the weight of her declaration, that he belonged to her now. And the more he thought about it, the clearer it became. Her words weren't just tradition. They were a promise of protection, of kinship, of something rooted in the very soul of the wild desert. But what did he owe her? That question haunted him, unspoken. One thing was certain. He couldn't walk away from this encounter without understanding the heavy truth of Apache bonds. In the days that followed, Jake found himself drawn back to her people. He learned their ways, how they honored the land, respected their elders, valued loyalty above all else. Yet, even as he immersed himself in their culture, a part of him refused to ignore the unbreakable bond that had been forged. A bond that threatened to change everything he thought he knew about loyalty, tradition, and the wild, unforgiving land that had become his new home. One night under a blanket of endless stars, as crackling flames danced in the darkness, the woman's voice broke through the hush, deep, steady, carrying echoes of ancient truths. She spoke of the land, the sky, and the heavens above, weaving them into a single tapestry of life itself. Everything was intertwined, roots running deep into the earth, stars shining down like silent witnesses. And now, she told him, the bond had been sealed. "You've fed my daughter," she said softly, "and that act has woven you into the fabric of our tribe." Jake's eyes drifted downward, slow and thoughtful, realizing that this moment reached far beyond mere survival. It was about kinship, respect etched into every gesture, and honoring the spirits of those who came before. In that quiet, sacred space, Jake understood he was no longer just a lone cowboy wandering the frontier.